So, welcome everyone. I'm super happy to see so many of you here. Very exciting. First, maybe you will want to know who are speaking, what are we doing here. My name is Antti Koskela. I'm from Finland. I work for a company called Omnia in Stockholm, but I practically never go there. So I'm really located in Finland, and I'm Microsoft MVP for M365. And with me on the stage here,
Michael. Hi everyone. So my English won't be as fluent as Michael's speaker because I come from France, but I try to be.
that's a
as
poor
fluent.
excuse.
So I'm tech lead at Onepoint. I come from a beautiful town called Nantes, which is in west part of France. I'm a 365 MVP also on dev category. Like to play with stuff and to extend what we can't do with M365. Also have the opportunity to work on the M365 PNP ecosystem and have the joy to co-maintain the PNP controls.
Yep, and we both are developers by background, but in the whole M365 space, I guess like the role of developer has always been a little bit murky. You need to be a little bit of a consultant, you need to know a little bit about the admin stuff. So like I don't think I've ever worked even for a year as a real developer. I've always been developer and something. You've been more on the development side probably.
Yeah,
I would say.
yeah.
But still, like you need to know about the actual plumbing. And this session is going to be about development, but also a lot about the plumbing and the technology underlying what we need to have, so that we can actually develop stuff on the on Teams and M365 Copilot. And before we actually go to the agenda, maybe we would really like to know something about you.
Yes, that's true.
So how many of you would say that you self-identify? Now, this is really murky. Like, do you identify yourself as like at least a little bit of a developer? Just raise of hands. Oh, nice. Okay, whoa.
Cool.
This is a lot of people. Nice. Anyone who is definitely not a developer but has done some scripting, maybe code curious? Oh, even more. Okay. Whoa.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is starting off really well. Nice. Anyone working for Microsoft? Ooh, okay. We need to. Okay, yeah.
Is this recorded? Is this recorded?
This is also recorded. Okay, so yeah, we need to be careful here. Okay, good.
We
Thank
try
you
to
for your
be-
honesty. We appreciate it.
we try to be honest as well.
we will be honest. So in this
Not
session, there will be maybe also some opinions, some pitfalls, some experiences as to what we have found out the hard way often. So, but we will start from why. Why should you be interested? Actually, am I writing? Yeah, this is going to be difficult. Like I'm going to be, all time, working on this. But we're going to start from the why. Why should you be interested in this topic at all? Why should the M365 Agents Toolkit or SDK or Teams Toolkit, as it was known like 5 minutes ago, why should that be interesting to you? Then we will actually tell you, so what is it? What is it today? Maybe a little bit also what was it before, but we're going to be, like we need to take a look. What are we, working with? What are the tools we have? How can we use those tools? How can we actually build something useful for ourselves, possibly to our colleagues as well, using these tools? And there's going to be demos. So we're going to actually show you how it's done. And our goal for this session is that after the session, you will know, or at least have, like some level of understanding. You don't need to be a full-blown M365 developer, but we want that you know what this toolkit is, what this SDK is, roughly what you can do with it, how you can build simple self-hosted agents. This is going to be very simple. We're not going to go, super agent-to-agent interaction. We're going to build simple stuff. And we want to show you how to integrate existing AI stuff and also your existing knowledge, your transferable skills with this SDK and this toolkit. So yeah, let's get to the why. So like the motivation of this session. Why should you be interested? Why does any of this even matter? Why you should be interested in the M365 Agents SDK? So I don't know about you, but this is my day-to-day as like an information worker. You're a white collar. You spend a lot of time in Teams. You spend a lot of time with email, and you just get notifications. You get emails. You get messages. You get calls all the time. And like my Teams literally looks like this. Maybe Copilot went a little bit overboard in this example, but I have so many unread chats all the time. It's difficult to keep track. It's difficult to actually maintain your, I don't want to say work-life balance because that's easy. You just, shut everything off when you're done working for the day. But it's difficult to maintain your time and keep everyone else honest about your time. And this is like my actual email inbox. I do have 700 unread emails, and these are in my main inbox. Like I've moved everything that doesn't matter already away, and there's still 700. And it's getting a little bit difficult. So we need tools. We need tools to manage this. And I don't think I'm the only one for whom the information overload is just a daily issue that I have to deal with at work. Microsoft published this nice study already 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago actually now, starting from the beginning of pandemic, when a lot of organizations moved to this hybrid or even completely remote working way. Well, this is really not very readable on this screen, but this says meetings per person went 150% up over the span of like 2 years. That's not very sustainable, and that's also you go from these face-to-face in-person meetings to online meetings, and you more than double the amount of meetings. You spend a lot of time in meetings. And also there's, chats, there's average time spent reading email. All of that is up. It's getting worse every single year, and we need to be able to tackle this. But how do we tackle this? Well, right now with Teams and with M365 Copilot, we actually get some tools from Microsoft. But if you're already paying for $30 per month, or actually, we also have a different angle here. If you're paying $30 per month for M365 Copilot license, you really should be getting the most out of this investment. But if you don't want to pay that, you can actually build still bots and intelligent agents that they will just not have some of the integrations and some of the, extension points maybe that you will if you pay for this. But you can still have a smart agent that is using an LLM to have like kind of intelligent conversations with your users and actually being able to empower them to automate their workloads. We're going to be showing some of that. But the core question for a lot of you, maybe especially for the gentleman working for Microsoft, is Microsoft really going to make this work for you? And the answer for most of you is that not really. Microsoft is kind of targeting two things. And this is just now my opinion, so don't quote me on this. Or if you do, tell that it's an opinion, not a fact. Microsoft is targeting the biggest customers, and then in addition, the average customer. And none of you are average. Like there's not a single person in this room who's average, and there's also very few people who are working for organizations that would qualify as big. That's just a fact in Nordics. So we actually need to figure out how do we use these tools in the best possible way, taking everything Microsoft gives us, and actually, getting the most value out of that. And for that, we are going to be leveraging the existing skills that we already might have, especially if we come from the Teams toolkit world, to build something exciting in as easy way as possible on M365 Copilot, and also just Teams without the Copilot. And the slides will be shared afterwards, so you will get those. No need to take pictures of the slides. So I guess let's talk briefly about what it is. Here you can see the super grand picture, super great picture of the extensibility in the agent world. On the left, this is a slide by Microsoft. It's outdated because Microsoft did a rebranding. Of course they did. So what you see here used to be called Agent Builder. Essentially, anyone can use that to build super simple agents. It's available in Teams, and I think in the M365 Copilot. I think so, at least on Teams.
Cloud of agents.
Yeah, and this changed name. It's now Copilot Studio Lite. Yes. Then you have the real Copilot Studio.
Rebranding.
Yeah, let's see what's going to happen with Copilot Studio. It has stayed, it has had that name for a couple of years already, so maybe we need a rebranding. Anyway, that's a great tool for building these much more powerful agents. It's still like you don't have control over everything. You still need to work through a UI that can at times be clunky, but it's so much better than it was a year or two ago. It's actually really powerful. But then you go all the way to the right to look at the Pro Code solution, where you essentially start from VS Code or Visual Studio at building the bot. And this is where we are today. We will be talking about the actual Pro Code way of doing this.
Yeah. So, has anyone here heard about my M365 Agents SDK? Okay. So it's brand new for everyone. Okay. What about Teams toolkits? Okay. So for the new here, this used to be what we have in Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code to enable you to create applications for Teams, bots, personal apps, channel tabs, messaging extensions. They rebrand it to be compliant with the agent extensibility that provides you features to create agents that could target Teams, but also M365 Copilot chat. We also have known in the dev ecosystem the bot framework SDK, which historically provides us features to create chatbots and also relies on Azure services such as the the Q&A, Lewis, which were cognitive services that were promoted, then deprecated, then replaced, and the old agent stuff came by to replace it. Um, it's we didn't know what was the future about Bot Framework SDK until the release of the M365 Agent SDK, which is supposed to replace the Bot Framework 1, but under the hood is still using many stuff that were implemented at first by the Bot Framework. And of course, you can use it to leverage your LLMs. You can rely on Azure services, OpenAI services, but also the public OpenAI services and other LLMs. And it's also some kind of alternative. There's no clear perspective regarding this to Teams AI library, which was released. V1 was released at least almost 2 years ago now, and there was a V1 which has its own path, and now there is a V2 which has its own other path, and which goes in a complete different direction than the M365 Agent SDK. The main difference is that the Teams AI library wants to focus on Teams, expectedly, whereas the M365 Agent SDK wants to target not only Teams but also M365 Copilot Chat, Discord, Lime Channel, WhatsApp, and other chat providers.
Yeah, and of course everything that Teams Toolkit had. So Teams Outlook, all the web surfaces, and in theory the M365 app. That's now M365 Copilot app. Like all of these are valid targets for the Agents SDK.
Yes. And last but not least, we have all the orchestration that can help you to help the user to request the appropriate agent for the appropriate business case. Where the well known in the Microsoft ecosystem is semantic kernel, which was released 3 years ago now, and is better and better day to day regarding documentation, regarding use cases, regarding samples. It's now it's more stable than it used to be. So to sum up regarding the Agents Toolkit, you can use it to develop extensions for the Copilot chats, but also, like Antti said, historically with the Teams ecosystem, chat messages, apps, etc. And at some points, personally, I don't clearly have an understanding about why, but they plan to allow you to create Office add-ins from the Agents Toolkit. It's already available for the Outlook, and for the other ones will come later on. So you can do pretty much stuff with this. And of course, we will focus on the on this part because this is what we start to use to create our sample.
Yeah, and like on this screen, I think our main focus today is gonna be in the custom engine agents. Like all of the other stuff, it comes with a toolkit, and if you are already familiar with Teams toolkit, you know kind of know this column already. It's just this part, and actually you already know the Copilot connectors as well, because that's just graph connectors. That's Microsoft Search. You already know that as well. But the custom engine agents and declarative agents, they are something new.
Sorry.
Oops.
No, it's you. It's me. Okay.
Yeah. Nope, nope. Yeah, we both have a clicker. Like, all right, you take it away.
Yeah. No, thanks. So I wanted to add this capture on for the session to give a clear overview of how does it work, what does it involve when you're using the SDK. Of course, you are targeting the experience, what you want to achieve. What's your target? You can be Teams, it can be Copilot, it can be, like I said, Discord and other outputs. But you have also how do you provide information to the users, the features, the capabilities. For this, you can rely on data sources such as SharePoint, such as the M365 ecosystem, or third-party APIs. For the orchestration, by default, you could use semantic kernel, but it also works with other orchestration libraries such as AutoGen and LongChain. And finally, regarding the intelligence, you can rely on the Azure AI Foundry services, which provides you both the agent service, but also model deployments that we used to know for a few years now. Also, you can also rely on Copilot Studio agents. You can call you allow your M365 agent to call Copilot Studio agent, but also external ones such as Mistral and others.
All right, so let's take a quick look at how do we actually achieve, what is kind of being marketed here, sometimes more explicitly, sometimes less explicitly. So the effortless AI integration. Like Michael said, we're going to be using Azure AI Foundry, which is like that's a really good service by Microsoft. It makes it easy for us to access a ton of different models. I don't remember how many there are, but they keep on adding new ones, and also deprecating old ones occasionally. So there's a lot to choose from. Then we will use an LLM or an agent. We can do either. And actually, you might know more about this. Do you want to take this slide?
No, no problem. So, like you said, you can choose to rely on existing deployments on Azure AI or new agent that you've created, which has his own prompt, its own rules and data sources. You can rely on Copilot Studio agents, MCP servers. This is something that we didn't have.
Yeah, we didn't build this into the demo, but in theory, and I've built one proof of concept. When you build your agent, you can essentially just point it at an MCP server, and the MCP server will essentially, that's an API that's in a way self-documented. So it'll tell the agent, hey, this is what you can do. These are the things you can do if you keep calling me and sending me the right parameters. It's really nifty because you don't need to actually know, how the other API is implemented. You just teach your agent dynamically, this is what you can do with this MCP server. That's the theory. It didn't work perfectly in the proof of concept, but I think it'll get there, and this is super exciting when it actually does. Oops. Oh, too quickly, too quickly.
Yeah, last but not least, you can also decide to integrate your agents to as additional agent to the Copilot chats, but also in Teams and in SharePoint. So this is the promise by Microsoft when they provide the SDK, whether we're talking about the Teams AI library or the M365 Agents SDK, because because the schema provided is quite the same between the two of them. You always have the inputs. You are talking with the custom agent. You got kind of AI magic with orchestrator, and then you have the response back. And of course, this is us here when we are preparing all the recipe, the data source, the model, the model choose and the prompt.
And Microsoft is not saying a few things about this. When you actually like just get an orchestrator, you don't just plug it in. If you're building a custom engine agent, that means that you're in charge of orchestration. So you need to be able to handle the different flows, the different user interactions that the bot needs to be able to do. So whereas this part is actually quite easy because Azure AI Foundry makes it really straightforward. This part is easy, not as easy, but still pretty easy because AI Foundry is great and the integration is easy. The orchestrator, building that logic and configuring, for example, SSO, that's the more difficult part. That's also the not as exciting part, so it's not as well documented either. So there's more of an exploration that you need to make there. All right, so that concludes the theoretical part. Now let me explain what are we going to be demonstrating. We're going to be showing you like a very lightweight real-world application. And actually, I think 2 different use cases if we just have the time. And it all started from here. This is a, well, this used to be a real meeting I was booking. I changed the name because, customer meetings, you can't say them aloud. And I left a typo. It's always good. But you can see I had 5 colleagues I was inviting, plus me, that makes 6 people. And the Teams meeting time finding logic, it's so good compared to what it was a couple of years ago. And for the 6 of us, the best it could do was 3 people at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. my time, the best meeting time. 3 people can't attend. I can. Well, according to Teams, I can attend at 9 p.m. This is not perfect. Like this is so much better than it was, but it's not perfect. 3 out of 6, not enough for this meeting. So you need to look at other ways to book a meeting. So, you send an invitation. A couple of people might attend, accept. No, 3 didn't respond. Do they come? You never know. They won't even decline. They just won't come. And then someone says, oh, could we reschedule? Yeah, it's, nope, not going to do this. Could we reschedule? And this keeps going, like if you have 6 people or you're just inviting 5 people, it's super likely that one of the people who accepted will not come. Or one of them will ask to reschedule. And then you're back at square one. And this is so frustrating. Luckily, you can use Poly on our scheduling polls. You get always that one person who doesn't respond. And you don't know. They might not be interested. They might be the most important person to be in that meeting, which makes it much more likely that they will not respond. This is so frustrating. And it's this is a lot of my work now. I lead a small team. I need to always invite these meetings. It's horrible. Microsoft actually launched a tool for this. With Copilot Studio, you can build a meeting time finder, whatever it's called. Yeah. You can build an agent that'll book your meetings for you. And it's actually kind of nice. I asked, I wanted a meeting, and it told me, yeah, I can book you one at 8:30 p.m., which it wasn't great. I told it, I have these two colleagues. Now these are test users. They have their work hours set, 9 to 5. Well, I mean, it found great times, again, 8:30 p.m., all the way until 11 p.m. All of these 3 accounts had their working hours set to European times. Well, I mean, it's not perfect. I need to tell it. Do you think we could find a time that's not in the middle of a night? I have found some available time slots that are not in the middle of the night. What about 8:30 p.m.? It's tiring. It's super tiresome. However, you can just tell it's an LLM. It can understand what you're saying. Please book the meeting at 11 sharp. And this is, well, I assume it's going to be AM. it did say at 11 UTC between 3 people. Super nice. Then I look at the calendar. There's nothing. It's like, I mean, this tool is getting there. It will be nice, but it's not nice yet. And that's how we figured, okay, let's build something for this.
Yeah. So that's the global schema of how do you achieve when you try to create app with the Teams ecosystem by default, and using the M365 Agents SDK. So you started by, of course, samples when they are working, of course, and try to develop and debug and debug and debug and debug and debug, and edit manifest and find the manifest that actually works. Then go back on all the samples which has missing parts of the manifest that were provided you by the toolkits, which actually doesn't work for your use case. Then the sign into my M365, which could be kind of easy until you try to sign in Azure and register and then try the app. I will show you right after some stuff regarding this. Provision in the cloud, then you can add some external resources, and you can publish it or not, and go to the Microsoft validation process with Teams, which is quite complete, but a path to achieve. And you can also publish internally in your organization, and optionally put some CI/CD magic into it.
And if you're familiar with how this works in Teams Toolkit, you are familiar with how it works in M365 Agents SDK or Agents Toolkit. And at best, it's great. It hides a lot of complexity. It will do a lot of steps for you. That's at best. When you run into issues, hiding all that complexity away does not always serve you well, because it's so difficult to sometimes figure out what's going wrong.
So now for the demo, just showcasing you what we did until now, using some AI integration to find stuff and getting information for our context. So I hope that the network is good. This is the local agent that I've developed from a sample, for which relies on Azure AI Foundry agent, in which which has its own prompt and also its own document sources. I will show you later on. So when you add the agent, you can have prepared questions so you can ask to him. When I click on this, if everything works fine, it will welcome me first, then using the streaming response to getting an answer to my question based on its own knowledge base.
Right, the first demo is more about just showing how the agent lives in Teams and how it can use existing knowledge sources to respond to your free text query. We did pre-create the prompt, but it's just using knowledge sources that we have given it.
Yeah. And we see that the string response...
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, not too much.
Yeah.
Better?
Yeah, can you scroll up so we see the actual
yes.
beginning? Yeah.
So, we can, as I said, you can see the welcome message here with the available commands, but also the answer to my question with the source mentioned here, which is actually a document that has been stored directly in Azure AI Foundry Agent data source knowledge base. Of course, I can ask him something regarding to the what does the what does the CTO of Contoso do?
I'm sorry about my phone buzzing. I'm getting a lot of meeting invitations at work.
So here again, it's going to get knowledge about this, about this. The streaming response should be more fluent, but you know, it's on my local machine. It has to go to Teams, then to go to the Azure bot service with my dev tunnel, then goes back to my code, then goes back to the tunnel, then goes back to Teams. So it's streaming, but back in old-fashioned internet times. But it's working anyway. And if I want to get just an info regarding me, for example, this is a command I have implemented. I got authentication SSO with Graph, which provides me additional features. And this is something that has to be configured on the both Azure bot service and the Entra ID app, which I show you right after. The idea was to get the meeting times with colleagues, and this is something that was we achieved it at a point, and then it failed, and we couldn't understand why. And the idea was to create a group chat like this one here, and add the chatbot to it so that we can interact with it. I can show you in the code after, but the idea we wanted to perform is that, okay, now you know who is in the group chat, and just with that command, find meeting times with this, using Graph API, which provides you an endpoint called find meeting times, and for which you can ask him, give him one to many colleagues, one date start date time and end date time, so date range, and then it will give you by default it's 5 meeting slots that could be compatible with your colleagues and yourself. I got the same issue as Antti, because I asked this morning for today, and it provided me starting from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. I don't know if it's because I'm in Sweden. I don't know the working hours in Sweden. Maybe you're working late. I'm not judging about that, but I was expecting something like working hours.
Maybe it's a time difference between France and Sweden. Like you had to fly a couple of hours, so like time zones.
No, time zone here is the same.
Who knows
I
how
checked.
time zones work? Definitely not Copilot.
So anyway, you can see here that there is some stuff, additional stuff here that is provided by the SDK, on which you can also add your own information. For example, this is the sensitivity label that you can rely on if you have some purview in place in your organization. But here, for the example, this was something that was manually registered.
Can you show the chat when it actually worked? Because this is interesting, because for us, the booking in a group chat, like it kind of worked. Then you added something, like a couple of lines.
I don't know.
And then what happened? We started getting the wrong endpoint, 504.
Yep.
From the plumbing. So like essentially from bot framework.
The idea was
which
to
is like something. Some of Microsoft's code was calling something with a post, so an endpoint that accepts post with a get, or an endpoint that accepts get with a post query. That's not gonna work. We don't know what it is. We can't see the plumbing. So something broke deep below the surface, and that's really difficult to debug.
Yep. So for example, here the idea was to say, okay, when you add a new member, the bot will welcome him. I'll give him insights, some tips when how we can call the bot, and then when you are mentioning the bot with some commands, you should be able to trigger it, and that's the part which used to work, but failed without any additional info. So, and in the last try we did, we were unknown. So I think there is something some things that are still on the tracks
Yeah,
with
there's
the
so
SDK.
much plumbing. There's so much plumbing.
But that's the idea of the use case, and I think that I will keep on working on this one to provide something to everyone here in the audience, because I can't
Yeah,
stop
now,
here.
now you really want to fix it because
Yeah,
like you run
yeah,
into
yeah,
something super unexpected
yeah.
that according to
That
documentation
used to work.
shouldn't be a problem.
It
Yeah,
used
that's
to
the worst
work.
part. It used to work.
So anyway, let's have a look at the code now. Here, here, and maybe can I zoom in? Oh yeah, I can zoom in. Okay, so
So you can use VS Code or Visual Studio, but because we
yeah,
are using the
yeah,
agents.net, that is definitely not working very well in VS Code. So you should be using Visual Studio if you want to work with .NET.
yes, and I remember that you were not really fond of front-end code, so
No.
I took the bet to get back to back-end language, which is quite good, but not used to um, work with, but was nice. So anyway, this is the the example of the agent when you can provide him AI services like I used to call at the first place, and then you can add some triggers like here on message when you can perform specific actions, and there is the auto sign-in feature in M365 Agent SDK, which allows you to using OAuth connection with your bot service and provide some sign-on SSO to get a token and to perform actions with third-party APIs such as Graph. And of course, you can also have the general message. So should it behave when you get a global message? And this is the part where it's interesting to add the LLM behavior in this. If I go there, I'm getting my agents. I'm preparing the streaming response, and I'm also getting every quote with the file references that could be mentioned by the LLM. Here, it's kind of cheat because the reference of the file points to the M365 Cloud Microsoft Chat. But of course, let's say that your files are available in other data sources like Azure Blob Storage or SharePoint. You can of course getting the source of the file and put it in the directly here instead of the general M365 homepage, and then you get your file reference, and there you can. This is the generated by AI message that you got just above, that you can choose to display or not, which by the way, if this agent is triggered in the M365 Copilot chat, it's automatically displayed. You can't choose to hide it. And then the sensitivity label. I see the time
Yeah,
running.
and you can add your own custom code to fire either on
Yeah.
those little switches that you saw, which is kind of the old-fashioned way of doing things. That's something we could do with Teams Toolkit and just like bots there. Or you can essentially introduce skills in Copilot Studio. They would be intents, but here there's another word. I guess plugin is one more word where you can plug in your own code, your own function to teach your bot, your agent, or M365 Copilot to do whatever your code is doing. And it should be pretty good at intelligently figuring out, oh, this person wants to book a meeting. We use the old-fashioned way here.
Yep. So the agent here is the one I'm referring to, which has its own prompt, which has its own knowledge, with the file that it relied on when it answers me. He was able to say, okay, this answer is coming from this, all the citations. It's all stored here. but of course could come from any data sources as long as you provide it in the agent. And finally, but
Yeah, so it's a lot like lot like what you would do with Copilot Studio, but now you don't pay Copilot Studio licensing, and you just get everything in your Visual Studio, and everything is already for your agent that you just plug in to your bot in Visual Studio.
And the last part is the Azure Bot Service that I've provided with its own Azure Entra ID app, its own OAuth connection, which is relies on the same Entra ID app. I use the client ID secret, but of course I could use the federated credentials to ensure maximum security. Referring the scopes, and in my Entra ID app, I've registered every permissions that I need to in order to perform the SSO and to perform graph queries.
Yeah, getting the authentication to actually work is not always easy. That's part of the plumbing that it's gotten much better. It was quite difficult just a bit ago. Okay, let's talk quickly about our takeaways from this journey of building these proofs of concept, and also like some simple production agents. Super quick key takeaways. Now these are facts. You will get opinions in a bit. First of all, the M365 Agents SDK, that's the pro code way of creating your agents, your smart, intelligent bots. It's trying to combine everything that's in Teams Toolkit, Teams AI library, and bot framework. If you do any work on it, you will see these like older technologies, older namespaces, older domains even, just, you know, you can see them kind of blobbing up or here and there, like they are still there. And that means you have a lot of plumbing that you need to deal with. It's great when Microsoft takes a bigger part of the responsibility, but it's really difficult when they don't tell what's happening. It's a black box. Well, it's not always a black box. Maybe it's a gray box. You can see a little bit what's happening, but you don't really, you can't fix things that are broken there sometimes. A lot of the tooling in VS Code and Visual Studio is a little bit experimental. It's not very refined. It's not always working the way the documentation says. It's not always working the way you expect. And you just need to go, you know, trial and error, essentially. Older samples, a lot of them still work. Some of them are upgraded and they don't work. Some of them are upgraded and they work. And some of the new samples work, some of them don't. It's right at this point. It's quite tricky. It will get better. It will get better, you know, within months. But right now, it's quite tricky to actually know what to do. And it's really easy to mess up with the Teams manifest, or if you're using the older version where you actually have two different app registrations, it's difficult to work with the AAD manifest. You can work with VS Code or Visual Studio. Both are fine, slightly different capabilities. And like we said, the .NET SDK version is only for Visual Studio. In reality, it should work.
Better works with, yeah.
Yeah, it should work with VS Code, but then the opinions. What's good? The gradual upgrade path. If you know Teams Toolkit, if you have worked with that, if you already have extensions, you have a path to integrate with M365 Copilot. You have a pretty easy path to upgrade, like do small upgrades to get all of the strength of LLMs in. What is bad is that the new SDK feels somewhat quickly hacked together. It might be more marketing at this point than actual product, but it'll get there. We can't deal with triggers. Like we can't actually make the code trigger autonomously right now, which is definitely coming, but we don't really have that yet. And then the ugliest part, samples. Like I said, it's really tricky to deal with the samples because you don't know if they work. The documentation, sometimes great, sometimes super
outdated.
Yeah, sometimes it's updated too early. You don't have the capabilities in the SDK yet. Yeah. It might say it's production ready, it's like general availability, but it's in a pre-release version of the toolkit extension. And the GitHub Copilot support, weirdly enough, sometimes it's brilliant and really often it's awful. The Copilot, you know, you ask it questions, you ask it to change your code, it will be using bot framework stuff from 3-4 years ago. Most of that doesn't work, some of it will. It's tricky to, you know, develop things with GitHub Copilot. But yeah, that's our findings.
Thank you very much.
Yep.